So, internal struggle. Internal struggle is what the character goes through throughout the story. That he has this flaw that you designed in the character, and through the process of the story, he's going to learn how to overcome this flaw. In the case of my story with Watcher faces the Wither King, Watcher is he feels weak, he feels insignificant, all he can do is use a bow. The warriors, they all have swords and they all have horses, and so when it finally comes to the point that everyone believes him that the Wither King is out there, the warriors are going to go out and try to stop him because the warriors are so strong and brave. And what I haven't said yet, which those that have battled a Wither King before, a Wither before, know, if you hit a Wither who is a flying monster, if you hit him with your sword, he floats up in the air and gets out of range. And a Wither shoots flaming skulls at you that do a lot of damage. And so if you're trying to fight a Wither with a sword, you pretty much have no hope at all of surviving that contest. Unless he's trapped in a cave or something. But if he's out in the open and you hit him with your sword, he's just going to float up in the air and then bombard you with flaming skulls. So I purposefully chose the Wither because of that characteristic. And I also chose Watcher being an archer because I know that the warriors with their swords are not going to be able to defeat the Wither King. And the only way that we're going to be able to defeat the bad guy is if we have an archer with incredible skill and incredible bravery to shoot down the Wither King. And that's where Watcher is going to come into play. So in this story, Watcher is going to see the Wither King and be afraid, and he's going to have to deal with gaining some courage. And then in the final battle, he's going to come up with some trick to destroy the other Withers so that there's not so many to fight. And then he will, and I won't tell you what the trick is, and then he will face the Wither King, and he will have to destroy the Wither King before the Wither King destroys all the other villagers. And he'll have to come face to face with himself and realize that he is a real warrior just like all the rest. It's just his weapon is different. His weapon is a bow. And he's going to be able to defeat the Karkin with his bow, and now he's going to feel like a real warrior, and all the warriors are going to accept him because they realize they were wrong at thinking only a sword makes a warrior. Sometimes it's not the weapon that makes the warrior, it's the courage that makes a warrior. So that's kind of the internal struggle that's going to go on through this story. When you choose your characters and you choose your flaw, you need to think about, hold on a minute, got a little pop-up, there we go. So you need to think about what you're going to have happen to the character. A flaw such as his handwriting is bad is probably not a great flaw to choose for your character, because how are you going to come up with some sort of story interest there where that's the thing he has to overcome to save the day? That may not be terribly important. Maybe him being a bad fisherman and he needs to learn how to be a good fisherman. Well, maybe that could be the case if he has to use his fishing pole to save somebody who's drowning, and he throws the hook out there and hooks the person and reels him in. And so you could use that kind of thing to create an internal struggle, to create what's called the character arc, which is how the character learns how to deal with the struggle and overcome it in order to be successful. But when you design your character, you always design your character with the character flaw and the internal struggle and how the character is going to grow through the story, the character arc. You always want to keep the character arc in mind when creating the character and the flaw, because then it makes it more cohesive and the character feels more real and more authentic to the story, and the reader really bonds with them more. So that's really, really important. I have the hardest time with character arc of anything when I'm writing. Sometimes I have the idea for the story and the plot, and I don't have the idea for what the character arc is going to be and what the flaw needs to be to fit into the story. And sometimes I've learned that I just can't figure it out, and so I start to write, and I've learned this is true with many authors, that you start to write, And as you're writing, you come up with ideas for what that character arc and what that internal struggle could be. And so sometimes I put that in later. Unfortunately, it causes me to rewrite a whole bunch of stuff I've already written at the beginning. But that's kind of the way some people do it. Right now, in the book that I'm writing right now, I couldn't figure out what Game Night's internal struggle and character arc was going to be, and so I started writing. And in the process of writing, I realized maybe Game Night isn't sure that he's the right person to be leading all these people. Maybe he's not qualified. Maybe he's not a good enough leader. And so he's going to learn through the story that he does have those leadership skills because he really cares about people, and he's really clever and smart, and he can figure out how to help each other and how to encourage people to help others. And so maybe he does have those traits after all. And so that's going to be the character arc for that book, most likely. Though maybe when I get to the end of it, that character arc will change because I'll have a different idea. And I'll go back and rewrite stuff. I've done that before too. So anyways, I hope this is helpful. This is really, really important. The whole reason why we read a book is the character arc. And so that is the most critical thing. If you have a book without a character arc, no one's going to read it. Everybody's going to stop a quarter of the way through and tell their friends, don't read this book. So it's really important that you have that character arc piece in there, because that's really going to help the story really solidify with the readers, and it will help the readers bond with your character, and that's really important. I hope this is helpful.